cute, these little babies.
I still miss the background of your flashy lights.
I know. I'm like, maybe it's better than sitting in a basket. I don't know. Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It's time for another episode of HAMYAW, and today we're looking back. It is officially the 1-year anniversary of our first episode of HAMYAW, and we wanted to take some time today to, first of all, thank you guys for putting up with us and for watching the show and being fans and telling your friends and sharing them in your mastermind groups and emailing us and just being the most amazing community ever. But we also just wanted to spend a little time talking about lessons learned, sort of where we were from that very first episode when we were but little YouTube HAMYAW babies and sort of where we're at now. So Margot, take it away.
Oh my God, I remember how much planning we did for our first episode. You guys have no idea how pro we were. Despite the terrible webcam.
And terrible lighting. And
we had segments planned.
Yep.
We had jokes planned. We rehearsed.
Yep.
Guess how much of it happened?
None of it.
0%.
0%. Yeah, we had this like whole idea for like segments 2 to 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden Margo and I realized we actually can't talk about anything for only 3 minutes. So it's been a lot of lessons. I think the biggest change, aside from like presentation, I'm still sitting in a basket, but I think lighting, we learned about lighting this year. Margo learned a lot about lighting. I learned
I'm at the kitchen.
I might need a better mic. And just like presentation, and we're going to be optimizing the channel. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But Margo, what out of all of the wonderful, I think like 20 plus episodes of HAMYAW we've done over this year, do you have a favorite episode?
Oh my God. I should have planned for this. I think my favorite episodes are like inversely related to the ones that succeed.
Yeah, I know.
It's always where I was like, this was so interesting and fun. And people are like, yeah, we're not watching that.
That reaction for me was the Tesla episode.
Yeah.
Like, I was so proud of that episode. I was like, we're talking about current events and we're like digging deep into this, like what people are actually seeing and experiencing and what people are pushing back on and why it might actually be the right choice. And it was like crickets.
Yeah.
We learned also a lot about timing this year where, you know, we film basically every week, but we are releasing episodes every 2 weeks. And it was just a timing issue, I think, that we kind of missed the boat on. We were like, we should be making emergency HAMYAW episodes, and that also did not happen. But that's why we stopped focusing on current events after that. But another really good one, I just really loved the cold open from the Valentine's Day episode. I Want to Talk About Balls. It's just really solid. Actually, let's talk for a second about kind of how the cold open is supposed to be. Yes, about balls. We had 2 episodes about balls now. We have Dr. Squash and we have we are proud ball advocates here on HAMYAW. I remember that first episode where it was all really coming together. So when we started with HAMYAW, like we first filmed those 2 episodes back to back, right? It was the initial one, and we change our shirts. We usually do 2 episodes at a time. We'll change our shirts so y'all don't know the difference.
Professional.
I think we were like watching it back, and our B-roll was so funny. Like the conversations we were having outside, like when we were making bloopers and all of that. I remember being like, we should use this. Like, let me test it out. I was like, Margo, what if we have like a 10 to 15 second like humorous thing so that every sort of episode kind of starts with a laugh. I think that opening up with something a little funnier with we call it our cold open, it's kind of SNL style, really set the tone for the show. And it was really a last minute add-on, not something that we had really planned to do. It happened organically. And so we've actually started using that as a tool. But when we film, we'll always record a few minutes of our conversation before, hoping
or it just comes from our
or it just comes from us struggling, really struggling to get.
Wait, you're using the pronoun we. I think everyone watching needs to know that Hillary is the creative director of HAMYAW, and her creative vision. Like, I'm just here. I'm just the pretty face. Okay.
Not true. You are a very pretty face. But
no, I mean like there's so much about what we've created that has come out of conversations we've had, but literally Hillary's like, I have this vision. And I'm like, tell me the vision. And we sort of workshop it together, but I cannot tell you guys how nice it is to have a partnership with someone that you're like on the same level with. And for 2 things I think we do really well. we have complementary skill sets, so there's not this like push and pull or like passive aggression on stuff. It's like, you own this, I don't want to touch it. You own this, I don't want to touch it. And then we also are really good at telling each other no and like shutting things down. So if I'm like, Hillary, this has to be the title, and she'll be like, no, that's a terrible title. This is the thing that I think is the key. And I don't know if I've had this with other partnerships. We're committed to the quality of the program. It's not just about like, I need to look good, you need to look good, I have this agenda, you have this agenda, like secretly, like, you know, with other partnerships. You've been in those where it's like, I know I'm going to pretend to care about this thing, but really I want to sell my product. And
this
like,
is about me.
Right. This is more about like, there have been times even where both of us were almost scared to tell each other and be like, you know what, I think that episode wasn't there, and we might be at the 11th hour, and we pull it because we're like, this isn't up to par, this isn't the quality we want, and we talk about it. And I think that that makes for a really rich partnership because we can be honest, and it leads into conversations about like, what are we trying to do with the show? What was the point of it when we started, and where has it grown now, and what do we know about our audience, and then also how do we want to present on screen or with each other. And so I feel like I have something like with you, we get to not just ideate, but like build and grow and make each other stronger, and it shows up in the show.
I think so too. And guys, a little bit about how the process for filming an episode works is we'll do an episode. We'll usually spend an hour filming, 30 minutes on one, 30 minutes to the other. We try to keep our episodes under 20 minutes. So there's so much cut from every episode just because we're sitting and having conversations. And how it goes is we'll film, and then Margot will do the initial pass, basically give us like the start, end time, cut out any of the like horrific bloopers where my cat's throwing up in the other room.
Should have kept that one.
Or like, that was a really good one. And then that'll be appearing on a later episode. And basically like making suggestions for the cold open and all of that. And then our video editor, Juliet, who is so awesome, total pro, like to her core, is so patient with us. Oh my God. The amount of times, like 11th hour, we're like, Juliet, we need to cut this 3-minute segment. She's like, okay, calm.
She's so calm.
So calm.
She's so calm. I would hate us so much.
I know. Both of us are complete spazzes, and Juliet just handles it.
She never gives excuses. She's always like, okay, I'm on it. And you're just like, what?
If you're in the market for a video editor, she's worth every penny. Just saying.
We love you, Juliet.
We love you. You are the best. So Margot will do the first pass, and then I go in and I do like what we call the deep cuts, where I will go and like figure out what needs to be removed. And actually what's been really interesting throughout the process is learning about like the cadence of video. It's like, where are we saying smart things, but things that are not very relevant? And this is actually almost always when I have to tell Margot, I'm like, hey, I want to let you know we were saying capital letters, very smart things, but it didn't make the cut.
Or it's just not interesting. You're really good. I think we're both good at perspective taking for our audience, where we're like, I love this story about myself, but I have a feeling everyone else is going to be really bored with this.
And what has also been really interesting has been how we can Frankenstein episodes with editing. That was, I think, our most Frankenstein episode was extremely bad websites that somehow work.
Yes!
Objectively bad websites.
I thought that was going to be a shit episode, and it was really good.
Yeah, such a mess. I forget, something went wrong. We were having trouble with screen share. We were like giggling about something and getting distracted. And I think the recording took like the whole hour. So it was us going through like an hour, 45 minutes.
And it went into a different direction content-wise than what we had originally intended. We were like, why is this the point?
Yeah, we had to change the order of so many things. It was really interesting. But again, it's about keeping the cadence. And what I always look for when I'm editing a video, and I know Margaret does this too, is just like, what is the thread? Are all of these ideas like in the same compartments? If we're bouncing around, sometimes we'll have to move some of the stories and some of the information like back into certain places. So it's a really interesting process. And I've learned a lot really about storytelling and about keeping the most vital information, not just getting rid of the ums or the run-ons or the stories that go on too long, but like sometimes it's relevant information, but it just doesn't belong there because we have something much more interesting coming next, or it's not what our audience would want to see.
Yeah.
What I wanted to talk about actually was how we kind of changed the format of the show about like pretty early, because we were originally wanting only to do screen shares. I think that's a really accessible way of talking about branding and marketing. Well, we're still going to continue to do that, but it's instead of being 100% of our episodes, we're like 10% right now, because we realized that it was less about the screen share and more about the conversations that we were having that were important. And
and the level. Sorry to cut you off.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
Like, the level people are at, like, we could go and like dissect ads all day long. I think people started to get bored. And also, you said this, at dinner the other day, you were like, a lot of these people are advanced people who've run out of Mac.
Yes.
And when we realized that, we're like, you aren't looking for like copy tips necessarily. Yeah. You want to talk about like, what's next? Like, okay, we've written sales pages and now we're wondering, how do I scale this thing? Or what do I want next for my career? What is the pivot? Or how do I be myself and my brand after I thought I was doing that and now I'm not? And what does it mean to be authentic? And like some of these bigger, higher level conversations that are honestly way more fun for us, but totally different. Because like we really thought it would be sort of ad breakdowns and marketing, like heavy tactical stuff. I still think like you said, like 10%, we'll still do some of it. But people don't, I mean, like we listen to you guys and when you email, nobody emails about those things.
That's true. That's true. Nobody emails about those.
So the other thing that I love about this show is that everyone told us not to do it.
That is true.
Literally across the board, people are like, YouTube? Why YouTube?
Do a podcast.
Do a podcast. Why don't you have a podcast? You need a podcast. And I'm like, listen, we can do that too. But everyone and their mom has a podcast. It wasn't interesting to us in that moment. And I think at a certain point, there's the line that we like to tread is there's the best practices that you should know and you should pay attention to, and you should understand trends, and you should understand platforms and see where things are going. And that's part of your job. And then there's like listening to your gut and having a good time and doing things that are on brand for you. And one of the things that we realized really early on, is just from playing around on Instagram, was that like people like seeing our face and they like seeing our interaction. They like that was part of it, and we liked it. Yeah. And I think that comes out. It's like, I've said this before, but like I do believe in like a marketing juju, and if you're not having fun, like it's gonna come out in the content that you create. Like it's gonna be a little more stale. And so part of it was just fun, and people take it so seriously.
And it's so funny because when we were originally talking about it, we were like, Margot was like, maybe it's a podcast, and I was like, no, no more podcasts. I don't want to do a podcast. And Margot was like, I don't want to do a podcast either. But then like 3 months ago, I was like, maybe we should do a podcast audio version of the show. She was like, now you want to do a podcast?
I mean, broadcast is different.
I know. I'm going to be doing that just for ease of listening. But again, we tried for an episode. It didn't exactly go gangbusters. So we were like, let's just stay on video.
And y'all, if you want it, you got to listen to it.
Exactly. Just play YouTube in the background. It's fine. But I think that was such a learning experience as well, in basically like, okay, we want to do this to try it. Okay, it's working. How do we get strategic about it? What do we use this for? And that's been a big conversation on the private side of things from like a strategic standpoint. Like, why are we doing this? What kind of contribution can we make? And ultimately, where do we want this to go? And we've got some plans for 2020, guys. So stay tuned. But it's also just been such a wonderful outlet for both of us. And I think letting it be an outlet for a while, at least for the first year while we tested proof of concept, because really a show like this or any content like this is a long game. If you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not doing it with someone fucking rad, or if you are yourself, don't feel as though you are rad in the process of doing it, it feels like a much more of a battle uphill. Whereas I think making the show for both of us was like a huge creative outlet. It was a great way to serve our audiences and the internet in a wider way, and just felt natural to do, which I think is a big blessing. And we've learned a lot about creative partnership along the way, as Margot mentioned.
I think that when you partner with someone who is a professional and takes the thing as seriously as you do and isn't all talk, like the only way you learn that is from doing. And so part of what we realized is like, we are not all talk. Which is a really, really, really fun place to be with I'm just going to say one exception. This isn't an exception. This was a deliberate choice, but my favorite story that people need to know is about Christine. So when I went to
thank you, Christine.
Yes.
Let's link her channel in the comments. She's a YouTuber.
Yes. I was speaking at a conference and she waited after to talk to me. She was like, I'm a big fan. I also know a lot about YouTube if you want to learn a little bit more about it. And of course I was like, yes, please, because we are YouTube like noobs. Like we know nothing.
YouTube illiterate. Like we upload the show and then we share it.
And like, go. Like it couldn't be more rude. Like we are such amateurs on that level. And it's now gotten to the point where it's like, okay, now you can't play dumb. You've been around a year now. So like, let's get it. So we finally schedule a call and we get on with her. She comes on from, was she in Hong Kong or Singapore?
Hong Kong.
Yeah. Okay. So she like is in the middle of the night, is sitting talking to us. She's explaining how YouTube works and like blowing our minds.
We're like taking notes seriously.
and then she goes, "You guys are like some of the best copywriters we've ever seen." And I'm looking at these titles. What happened?
That's exactly what she just goes, "What happened, guys?" And lose it laughing because our titles are like, we're so cool kid about them sometimes. Like Margot will send me an SEO title and be like, no. She's like, we'll call it, "Do you have boundaries in your business?" I'm like, no, we're calling this "Bro, do you even boundaries?" Which was, in my mind, a great title. So this was actually
still titled that.
Let me still titled that. Let me just do a quick before we continue with the story. I do want to say that this was a discussion that we had. We were like, okay. It was a discussion we had on Twitter. First of all, we polled you guys, and you guys preferred the cool kid titles, by the way. So there's like two ways to think about titles. Like, is it an SEO? Do you want to be found? Is it like, are you using it as a tool to get found? Or are you basically making it a title for your existing audience? Like it's an inside joke, and they're going to get it. And so that's kind of how we were doing it for a while, because we were like, we don't care about growth. We just want to like make things for our people. So we're going to have some silly titles. But Christine was like, guys, if you want to get found by people who are like not in your immediate circles, you like really have to
Not even that. She made an even better point. She was like, if somebody watches your video and really likes it, and then they go to your page, what the shit is this? She didn't say it that way, but she was like, they don't know what this is about. Like, what is your channel? And we were like, ugh. Really? It was so real. Which is totally true. And I think like part of it was totally deliberate on our part. Like we opted into that decision, but part of it is also emblematic of the shoemaker has no shoe problem. I mean, I think the same has been true on my blog for a really long time. Like you don't always announce as you make pivots along the way, and then when you get there and they're like, what is this? You have to start to actually define yourself. But it happens over time. And I think what I want people to take away also from this episode is that we're not in a rush. I've had to fight that instinct. And I literally told Hillary I loved her when she told me like the length of time she had in mind for how much audience building we needed to do, because I am so used to being hired or just around growth hackers and marketers and people who are like, I need quant. So what is this going to give me? What is it going to do? And I totally get it, because when you're putting money down, you want to know and you want to measure. And that's absolutely what you need to do when you're an established business. But when you are building and when you are testing and when you are coming up, like I think it's Jordan Harbinger that said, you know, you should have a podcast for at least 6 or 7 years before you even think you're going to see any money from it. He has a whole speech titled "Why I Don't Think You Should Have a Podcast," because people don't want to sit and do the time. And like part of what has been so fun about this is that we're both bankrolling this from our own separate businesses. Like HAMYAW is not support, and we're not forcing it to support itself. Not yet. One day you guys will. Not kidding.
Please. We started lean, our costs aren't out of control, but yeah, it's not money. It's something we put money into, but because we love it and because it's important to us and because you guys love it, and the support from our community and from our audience has just been awesome. Like from the emails you guys send in and from the comments, like to know that we are making a difference is really, really awesome.
I got the best text message from someone who, these are my favorite. They don't even come from people who watch. They come from my colleagues who send out our videos to underscore a point they wanted to make to their clients. And then their clients take action and they send me thank you notes. They'll be like, oh my God, I sent someone the sales video and then they got over their fear and they were like, I sent more emails and they sold $1 million. Okay, it was not $1 million, but like
1 million, definitely $1 million. Don't listen to her. And I think that's why we sort of allowed the subject matter to change in the way that it did, because it was funny that we didn't do this automatically, because we made our careers as writers by talking about these, like the nuances, the less talked about stuff, the emotional side of things, the things no one wants to say because it's not in line with the strategic darling du jour. And I think just being able to talk about that on our show and share about the things that matter to us and are coming up for us, because they're coming up for so many people and they're difficult to talk about. And I think that the fact that we had an outlet to do that, which aligns with our brand values, but also aligns with who we are and who we want to be as creators and voices in the space, like it's a real privilege. So thank you.
Yes, we have an awesome audience. We are so grateful for all of you guys who tune in each week and watch and comment and send us emails and send us DMs and remark on things on Instagram. It is unbelievably rewarding
It really is.
We want to keep here, like, making things for you guys. So keep telling us what you want. Like,
Please.
we are listening.
Everyone replies to Margot's emails. And another thing I think has been fun for people is we've got 2 different emails coming about every episode. And that's another like added bonus, I think.
Yeah, that's been fun. I never know like what direction either of our promos are going to take. And it's so funny. Like sometimes Hillary has an angle where I'm like, that was a really good angle. Like, damn it. Should have taken that angle. And we got to do a side by side.
Margot's emails almost always spank mine. We're so thankful, guys. It's been such a wonderful year of, magic and exploration and really being able to make something that feels fresh and feels new and feels fun to make with one of my best friends. And it's just like a real blessing. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. You guys, we are going to take a tiny, tiny break over the holidays. If you want to tune in to some of our older episodes, catch up on what you haven't seen, or watch any of the videos that we mentioned in this episode, you absolutely should. I am Margot Aaron.
And I'm Hillary Weiss.
If you like this episode, please like it below, subscribe to our channel, and tell all of your friends, and chat with us in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next year. Goodbye.
We're going to be optimizing the channel, so keep an eye out for a makeover. Bye, guys.